Hey, welcome back to the Living in Coastal Virginia channel. You're watching the right video if you're trying to find out what is the cost of living here in Chesapeake, Virginia. Let's roll. Thanks so much for joining me here on the Living in Coastal Virginia channel. I truly consider it an honor that you come here for the resource of information. Just as a reminder, I am a realtor here in the local area, help people buy, sell, and invest in the Hampton Roads, Coastal Virginia 757. What's another name for it, Sean? We have another name?
Seven cities.
The 7 cities, yeah. So that's what we do. We live, work, play here ourselves. I live in Norfolk. I've lived in Virginia Beach. I've even lived in Chesapeake. So I've lived in all of them. If you have any questions directly, you can get my information down below. Hit us up. We'd love to serve you and your family. So let's go ahead and get into the cost of living. When we're looking at cost of living, obviously there's a variety of things that we're going to be looking at. That's going to be utilities, which would be water and electricity. It's going to be transportation. It's going to be your rent or how much you're going to be paying for a house. All of those things are going to be factors that would go into it. But when we look at a variety of sources, whether this is citydata.com or bestplaces.net or area vibes, there's a variety of ones out there. In general, you're going to find that Chesapeake is somewhere between 6 and 7% above the national average. The majority of that cost is going to be tied up in your housing expense, and that's why we're above the national average. The majority of it is in that specific category of costs. One of the things that I think most people, when they think of Chesapeake or when they get to the area, they think of Chesapeake as more of a country vibe. Other than where we're at today, we're on location here in Taste in Chesapeake. Once you start going further south, people start thinking of Chesapeake as the country or maybe urban sprawl, something along those lines, because most of your shopping is going to be here in Greenbrier and maybe along Battlefield Boulevard. There's lots and lots of neighbors, which I would say are quite homogenous when it comes to the styles of homes. So like if you're going to get a whole bunch of brick ranches between 250 and 350, you're going to get a whole bunch of new construction between 450 and 550. So in Chesapeake, if you're going to be looking at the average versus median, that's something I'll probably cover in another video, but median sales price of the last year for all of housing in Chesapeake was $269,000. Now, it's important to break that down into two different categories. One's going to be townhomes or condos, which we consider attached, right? That would make sense because they're attached by a wall. And detached, which is mostly your single family homes. Attached property prices are going to be somewhere in the range of $220,000 to $230,000. You do need to remember that likely, unless it's a townhome, there's probably going to be a property association or a condo association fee attached to that. Just as a quick aside, a really easy rule of thumb to figure out what a condo fee is costing you and what your additional purchasing power would be. So let's say that your condo fee is $200 a month. Take that $200 a month, divide it by 5. So 200 divided by 5 would be 40. And 40 would be the amount of thousands of dollars that you could increase your purchasing if you're purchasing in single family. So if you're buying a $200,000 condo at a $200 fee, you could probably buy the equivalent, meaning the exact same amount per month of $240,000 in single family. Just something to think about. Single family homes in Chesapeake, the average over the last 6 months has been about $340,000, which again is just substantially above the national average, and even for all of the 7 cities or Hampton Roads or Coastal Virginia or the 757 like we were mentioning earlier. Some specific categories that maybe if you're looking at Chesapeake, you're probably considering Chesapeake for these reasons. Let's say something with land. So if you're looking for something with an acre or more, the average for the last year was $470,000. If you're looking for something along the Elizabeth River that has a water view, that average of $375,000. If you're looking for something that was new construction. New construction, I think, was $434,000 on average. The last category I thought that a lot of people move to Chesapeake for is in-ground pools. So people are wanting a little bit of space and the ability to put an in-ground pool. The average for the last year for places with an in-ground pool was $440,000. So let's compare and contrast what it's going to be, the cost versus rent versus buy, right? And we can go into whether it makes sense, whether it's the rent or the buy. We've seen a lot of appreciation. I think all of Hampton Roads saw just about 9% appreciation over the last year. And so obviously, if you're going to be seeing that every single year, it's going to be quickly make more sense to buy than it is to rent. But if you're only going to be here for 1 or 2 years, it may make sense to rent because, hey, you need the ability to move quickly. There is a cost to selling, real estate. You got to pay real estate agent fees that come along with that. So I usually advise people like, hey, you're probably going to make more sense if you're going to be here for 3 years or plus. So let's compare and contrast rent versus buy. 1 bedroom would be about $1,000 to $1,100 in rent, which would be the equivalent of buying at $180,000, $190,000. If we're looking at 2 bedrooms, you're going to be looking at about $1,200, $1,300 a month. That would be purchasing power of about $220,000 to $230,000. 3 bedrooms, you're going to be looking at about $1,700, $1,800 per month. That purchasing power would be about $320,000, $330,000. And then if you're going 4 bedrooms, so you got that growing family, or if you just like your space, you're looking at about $2,100. And again, that would be purchasing power, whether you're using the VA loan, conventional FHA loan product, how much you're putting down, interest rates, debt to income. Again, all of that influences how much it actually is going to cost you. Would be somewhere between $400,000, $430,000. Again, all those variables included. So one of the things I think that a lot of, especially young people, I have a lot of young military people that move into the area, and one of the things I try to get them to understand is, they get off base, the first thing they want to do is get out into town, they want to get off base and not be there anymore. Most of them are going to be moving in with roommates. Well, if you're going to be doing that anyway, why not be the one that actually buys the real estate and have your roommates pay your mortgage for you? You go in there, charge them $500, $600, $700 a month, which is what they would be paying anyway. Include utilities, right? And let's say you went and bought that 4-bedroom home in Chesapeake for $400,000. Well, that mortgage equivalent would be somewhere around $2,000. So obviously you need to be able to qualify for that. But if you have 3 roommates that are paying you $700 a piece, well, 7 times 3 is $2,100. Boom, there's your mortgage paid for, and you're living basically rent-free. Just something to consider. I think it's a underutilized technique for young folks who have the ability to get roommates, and they're going to do it anyway. And if you qualify, you could really set yourself up for some serious financial success down the road. I wish I would have known it when I was 20. I'd be $100,000, $200,000 richer today. Next, let's cover utility costs. This is kind of a boring one, but important to cover. It's going to be very similar to my Virginia Beach one. In general, we are right around the national average when it comes to cost, whether that's electricity, natural gas, so on and so forth. There is a big push here locally for a lot of solar vendors that are going around selling solar. Sometimes it makes sense, sometimes it doesn't. Most of that's going to be on how much roof area you have available and where that roof is oriented north to south, because you're going to need as much sun exposure as possible for those to make sense ROI-wise. So just if you're needing a good company for that, you can always reach out to us. We have a couple of vendors that we've worked with in the past that we find are pretty honest. Anyway, so let's get down. Again, I'm using my notes down here. The main thing is going to be the size of your house, how energy efficient your home is, what your HVAC equipment that you're using, and then your personal comfort level, right? And so the size of the home, obviously 4,000 square feet is very, very different to heat and cool and get rid of the moisture out of the air than a 1,000 square foot home. A home that was built in the 1920s, 30s, or 40s is going to be much less energy efficient than something that's brand new construction. Something that has 20-year-old utility equipment that is using maybe old oil for heating is going to be very different than something that's using natural gas that is the most energy efficient and something that's rather new. And then obviously someone who's totally comfortable in 58 degree, like if it's, let's say 30 degrees outside and you're like, hey man, I'm gonna put a sweater on, the heat's barely gonna be set to 50, you're obviously gonna have a much lower bill than if you are like me and you want it at least at 60, I'm a 68 degree. What do you keep it at, Sean?
69.
I always set it at 69.
Yeah, I mean, it's obviously personal comfort level goes a lot into that, and how much it's going to charge. So again, our overall like cost of the utilities is on par with the national average. When you're looking at homes, whether that's renting or buying, you just want to be looking at what's the age of the home, how big is the home, are you going from say Southern California to here? And this low humidity there and relatively even temperatures throughout the year to here where it can get really cold during winter. It's been, Sean and I were just talking about this outside, it's been really gross this winter. It's not that great outside. It's been somewhere between the 20s and the high 30s, sometimes low 40s for literally 2 months. And so it's just not enjoyable to go outside, and you're spending a lot more on your heating than you did last winter. We have, I would say Virginia is kind of like the two seasons are spring and fall. Fall in particular is absolutely really pretty here, especially when the leaves are changing. But during the summer, we have really high humidity and tons of mosquitoes. So it's not like you're leaving your doors open and just kind of sucking it up, because then you got bugs coming in your house. So you're either heating or you're cooling during winter and summer. And so depending on the utilities and the fuel type that you're using can drastically vary how much that expense is going to be. All right, so transportation costs, again, on par with the national average. The biggest thing that you need to be paying attention for Chesapeake is you're in kind of suburban sprawl. All of the shopping, all of the places that you want to go, all of the entertainment is going to be a 15 to 40 minute drive depending on what you're doing, whether that's the ocean front, whether that's going to the movie theater, whether that's going shopping at Greenbrier, whether that's traveling to Williamsburg for Water Country or Busch Gardens. Like everything that you really want to go do, even grocery shopping is going to be a 10, 15 minute to 30 minute drive depending on what you're going to. So one, you're going to have a car here. Two, you most definitely, like in my other videos I've said, get an easy pass because it's going to reduce the cost of those tolls by at least three times, 300%. And then as you're looking at gas, most definitely grab, I've mentioned this before, Gas Buddy, because you can probably reduce the amount that you're spending per gallon, maybe all the way up to 40 cents a gallon just by going to the right gas station. I might just be miserly, or hey, maybe this is an opportunity for you to go out and get that electric vehicle that you've been wanting. I didn't get my Tesla because I'm gonna blame Sean, because Sean wanted, we're gonna work together full time, so I had to postpone that desire, but eventually I'll get something. I'm actually really interested in the Rivian truck. This is my dream vehicle. I'm hoping that I can probably get one here in the next year. We'll see if it's going to happen. If it does, I'll even make a video about it specifically. Oh, one thing I forgot to mention is a lot of my clients that move to Chesapeake are military folks that are looking for really good schools or super safe neighborhoods, and so they travel all the way from Chesapeake to say Oceana and Virginia Beach or Naval Air Station in Norfolk, which is again a 25-30 minute drive, which I guess again includes tolls. So if you're going to be looking at Chesapeake as a place for your family, you probably are going to want to budget a little bit extra for those travel expenses. Just something to consider. Next, let's talk about grocery costs. The grocery costs, again, if you look at whether it's bestplaces.net or Area Vibes, or there's a list of sites down below, it's going to vary just a little bit. I'll mock myself in my previous video where I said very, 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 very little, but it's going to vary very little depending on where you look. The biggest thing is you've got Fresh Market, you've got Kroger, you've got Lidl, you've got Harris Teeter, you've got Food Lion. All of those are going to be a variety of different styles of grocery stores. Kroger and Food Lion are pretty similar in cost. Lidl tends to have really good discounted in produce. We do have a Sam's Club in Chesapeake, but if you want to go to Costco, again, you got to drive all the way to Norfolk for that. Let's hit on something super boring, taxes. So taxes, Virginia, the state has a 2% income tax, which is one of the lowest in the nation. It's quite low. Obviously, it's not zero, but it's low in comparison to the national average. Your sales tax is about 5.3%, which is higher than normal. So the combined, again, would be around 7.3%. But the property taxes in Chesapeake are actually pretty low. $1.05 per $100. So on a $300,000 house, that would be $3,150. Something to pay attention here is in Chesapeake versus some of the other cities, Chesapeake actually charges you 1 cent, so $1.04 per $100 versus $1.05 per $100, specifically for mosquito control. That's how bad they can be here. So part of your property taxes literally is to help reduce the amount of mosquitoes in the area. Something to pay attention to while you're looking for homes. So if you're out there looking for homes, two things when you're looking at property taxes. We know the assessed rate is $1.05, but you want to make sure that when you're looking at new construction or even flipped properties, take a look at what the actual assessed property taxes are. So let's say that your assessed property taxes are $2,500 and you're about to buy a $400,000 house. A little alert should be going off in your head, because the likelihood that the city the next year or the following year goes and reassesses your property at what you purchased it at is pretty daggone high. So you're probably going to have taxes go from that $2,300 all the way up to maybe even $4,000 a year, which is going to be somewhere in the range of if I had to guess, $146-ish increase per month on your expenses. And so you could be in your house for a year and a half, and all of a sudden your payment goes up $140. You're giving me a call, hey, Dan, why did these go up? And I go, hey, remember when we talked about it was a flipped property and the assessed value hadn't caught up yet? So just something to pay attention to. If those taxes, if that assessed tax value is low, you need to account for that increased that could be coming down the road soon. All right, so two more things I want to cover. One is going to be schools. So one of the big reasons people move to Chesapeake is for the school systems. There are a ton of great schools in Chesapeake, and so obviously if your property taxes are paying for public school, then you don't have to be paying for private school. So that's a large expense that's off your plate. I think one of the local schools in Norfolk, they were charging something like $1,300 a month per kid. That's $190,000 in purchasing value. So you could go from, if you could potentially afford, say, a $300,000 house, but you can move to Chesapeake and use the public school, well, that's a huge increase in what you can afford in a home versus paying for private school. And then last, and my favorite, is eating out or food. So Chesapeake, like most of Hampton Roads or the 757 or coastal Virginia or the 7 cities, does have great food. I would say that they don't have quite the variety or array of food as, say, Virginia Beach or Norfolk does. Like, there's far more chains in Chesapeake. I mean, your general cost is going to be $80-$20 for lunch. Again, just really depends on what you're looking to get and how much you're going to eat. I'm a big boy, so I eat a lot. If you're looking for a nice 3-course meal with your special somebody, you can easily spend $65, right, for an app, 2 main entrees, a shared dessert, and 2 drinks for $65, including tip. But you can easily double that by going to, say, a place like the Butcher's Son, and which there's 2 of them. One is in Virginia Beach, one's in Chesapeake, and dropping some coin there, right? And there's just very few places, I would say, in Chesapeake that you can easily go and drop like a $200 meal. You've got a few brewery options. The main one at Chesapeake is going to be Big Ugly Brewing Company, which we were there last week, and sort of B-roll here. And then I think that their morning commute stout is probably one of their best ones. I really like stouts. It's one of my favorites. Let's see a quick few mentions again, because Sean and I do a show called the I Love Cova Show, where we spotlight local businesses and do a big giveaway. Usually the minimum is $250, going up from there, so pay attention to those. But again, the Butcher's Son in Chesapeake, phenomenal if you're into local seafood and good steaks, grass-fed steak. They have that there. Duck Donuts, which I'll go ahead and admit is not necessarily local to just Chesapeake. It actually originated in Duck, North Carolina, but we'll consider it local because it's really not that far. And have you had their maple bacon donut?
Yes.
Dude, it's life-changing. It's so good, especially or life. If you eat enough of them, I guess so. Super good, maple bacon donut. Cutlass Grill in Chesapeake is absolutely phenomenal. It is a Caribbean or Jamaican style food restaurant. So if you're into jerk chicken, man, it's so good. Tim James, one of my close friends, and I went to Jamaica together, and then we also went to the Caribbean together on vacation. And we've had like authentic jerk chicken. This place is really, really close. It's really, really good. Cutting Edge Cafe is a kind of a bistro style. They do salads and burgers and sandwiches and that type of thing. So what's kind of special about them is that they source the majority of their stuff from local farms. So within like 100 miles of the restaurant. And they make just about everything in-house, including sauces and jams and all kinds of stuff. Lastly, I'll mention what's called the Shaking Crab. This is a New Orleans style restaurant where they take literally the crab legs, they put the seasoning in, they shake it in a bag, and they hand it to you. Special shout out for their onion rings. Yeah, that wraps up the cost of living for Chesapeake, Virginia. Again, if you found the information helpful, hit that like button down at the bottom. If you'd like to see more content that's similar, you can hit the subscribe button. That means a lot to me, if that matters to you. Then lastly, again, obviously, the profession of what my wife and I do is help people buy and sell homes here in the Hampton Roads, coastal Virginia, 757 cities area. So if that's something that we can help serve your family in doing, then give us a shout out. The information is down below. Peace out, guys.